It is time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing. On today's show, we look at iOS Maps, Yelp integration and what that means. We look at Facebook's Friends Nearby folly, Yammer winning the Microsoft lottery. What the what? And are smartphones really helping in-store sales? All this, plus our usual M&A and funding news, and our special guest, Holger Luedorf of Foursquare Talks, Find versus Search. Can you say packed show? Welcome, everybody. This is episode number 84 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Happy Canada Day, everybody. Asif, happy Canada Day to you, buddy.
I know. Thanks, Rob. You've already had some fireworks, as we alluded to today. But, yeah, it's Canada Day. It's my mom's birthday. So, if you're listening, happy birthday. There you go.
Only our moms listen to this anyways, Asif, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's like, 50% of our audience right there.
50%, because I listen to it, you listen to it, and it's exactly right. I force my kids to listen to it as well. Yeah, you alluded to it, fireworks. I don't know what it is with this show. I think midway, about 40 episodes ago, the bathroom that is behind me in the office exploded while we were on air. It's one of the funniest things ever. And then as we're getting set to do this bright and early on Sunday morning, right now on Canada Day, my back porch caught on fire. So I don't know what it is. I've had floods and fire. I don't know what it is about location-based marketing. Maybe, it's the gods conspiring against us to get this episode done. But fire is out. Fire trucks are gone. My kids are both shaken and stirred, and we are persevering. What a morning. Happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the week that was, I'm obviously Rob Woodbridge of Untitled.tv. If you don't know, just go there and you'll find a whole bunch of resources around mobile, in-depth interviews and insight from around the mobile universe. And with me, as always, from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, 2 weeks in a row, man.
Yeah, I know. Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association. Great to be here. The resource for all things location-based. And we got lots to talk about today again. So, yeah, there's always a packed show, it seems.
There is.
So,
and I don't think we have anything to push, right? Untethered Talks is done. It's getting into the summer time frame. Everybody's going away for vacation. So should we just jump right into this?
Yeah. Let's get right into the story.
Well, we do. We have 5 stories. We have obviously we have our guest, which is Holger, and we also have a resource of the week, and we have some funding and M&A news. And we might as well just jump right into the. This is I call this like the news fuse, or the top 5 stories this week that showcase the breadth of location-based marketing that's going on around the world. And, of course, Asif does his best and always does a great job of bringing in not only North American perspective, but worldwide perspective as well, and that's what we've got here. Our first story comes from a company that we've talked about quite a bit, Placecast. Are they trying to compete with Apple in this, Asif?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think... what they've announced this week is their own wallet, the Shop Alerts wallet. And the interesting thing about it is that this is a web-based wallet service. So it's HTML5 based, white label-able service. So it sort of stays in line with Placecast's model of, we build great location-based and mobile tools for carriers, for merchants to skin and brand and use however they want. So they're not out here saying, here we go, here's another mobile wallet. We're going to go and try and compete directly with ISIS or Amex or any of those guys. They're basically saying, we built a platform, white label it however you want, skin it however you want. Here it is. We'll see. I think a lot of these carriers are doing their own things, at least the kinds of guys that they would be targeting. So, I'm less, favorable around this particular offer from them than I am around their more traditional offering, which is, their sort of geofencing based SMS-based location service that O2 is using and AT&T is using, and and so on. That they've done really great job of empowering those guys with tools.
I've got a video. I've got a video here, Asif. Why don't we it's like a minute long. It just kind of goes over. It's Blair Sweden that is talking about. This is just from their website. Let me throw it up here, and then we'll come back and have a conversation.
Yeah, sure.
Here he is.
Hi, I'm Blair Sweden, Senior Vice President of Strategy and Business Development at Placecast. I'm here today to announce the launch of our new Shop Alerts Wallet. Shop Alerts Wallet is the first turnkey solution for tying mobile location-based offers to mobile payments. For consumers, Shop Alerts Wallet offers a number of innovative features. Consumers can search for nearby merchants or offers and view those results in a list or on a map. Alternatively, consumers can set their preferences to receive offers via push notifications or SMS based on their location and preferences. Consumers can also save or delete offers from their offer inbox or share those offers via social services like Facebook and Twitter. Shop Alerts Wallet also supports integration with third-party services for things like event ticketing, transit, or rewards cards. The future of mobile commerce will be driven by happy consumers and ROI for merchants. Shop Alerts Wallet can provide this today. Contact us to learn more.
This really doesn't really tell a story about why they're doing this. I think he did no offense, I don't think he did a very good job selling me on why we should be using this, other than it's a natural extension. But I like the white label aspect of this. But again, I'm with you on the fact that this is not as strong as they're offering. It might be natural evolution to this, but it's not as strong as their initial offering.
No, I mean, I think as far as sort of evolving your product set, and having a mobile wallet, yes. I mean, I think it makes sense for them. I love Placecast. These guys are, for me, if you're going to be in this business of location-based deals and offers, empowering others, building a white label platform, SMS hitting all devices, not just smartphones. I love all those aspects of Placecast, which is why I've been a big fan for a long time. So adding a wallet, sure. I think it makes sense in terms of evolving the product strategy, as you say. But I'm skeptical, I guess, as to whether or not they're going to get how much traction they're going to get around the wallet piece in particular. Just because there's so many other wallets out in the marketplace today. The carriers are all, playing, with each other around, building, consortium plays around this. I highly doubt that, ISIS is all of a sudden going to go and say in the U.S., for example, well, we're going to use this as well. Not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. So,
and I wonder, I wonder about non-native, and we're going to talk about this as well with the iOS and Yelp integration and what this means for a bunch of other companies. But this non-native piece here, right, where iOS is moving into this. So it's not so much that they're getting into the wallets, but they're getting into Passport, right, which is a place to keep all your stuff. And it doesn't seem like such a stretch to see Apple getting into the wallet space because of integration with iTunes, and they already have your credit card on file, one-click purchasing, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So, I wonder for non-native, non-embedded, non-default apps like this from Placecast, what's the play here when all the operating systems, like Google has its own, like Apple has its own, what this means for these guys who are trying to build out these services right now? Do they lose by default just because it's the same thing with browsers. When you click on a link, it automatically defaults to the default browser, which is embedded in the OS. So this is, I don't know, this is what's so exciting about this. We don't know what's going to happen, but I think that they're at a disadvantage as a result of this.
Yeah, I mean, competing against a native solution in the device is a hard thing to do, right? However, I think the way you go about that, if you want to play that game, is you got to work with the big guys. You got to work with the carriers. You got to work with the credit card companies. You got to work with the banks, that's what they're trying to do. So the question is, how many of those guys are they going to be able to convince that this is the solution that they should be building upon on top of and go that direction. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Obviously, they've done great with O2 and AT&T on sort of enabling them with location-based services. Is O2 all of a sudden going to turn around and say, "Yeah, we're going to use your wallet too"? I don't know.
Well, it's this is what makes it so. We're speculating here. There's a trajectory that we're on, and this is right now everybody's scrambling. Who knows if any of these are going to stick? But I think that the combination of location-based deals and what they're doing is as a way to enable commerce. Those we know that that's where it's going. So why not Placecast? Just check them out, placecast.com, and you will find placecast.net. Sorry, and you'll find them. You'll find a little bit of video and a little bit of detail if you're a consumer or if you are a merchant looking to get into the space as well. Placecast.net.
There you go. All
right, our second story. Get ready for this. I love when we do a Groupon story because it's like, what the what? Groupon and Elevate Digital partner in Chicago for 2 days to do what?
Yeah, this is the second time they've done this partnership. So what they've done here is Elevate Digital is a company that does kiosks, display systems, touchscreen display systems in malls and places like that. So apparently for the 28th and 29th, just past of June, they enabled a bunch of these displays in a thing called Pioneer Court, which is right next to the Tribune Towers, Tribune Media, big media company. And so what they're doing is as you kind of pass by these things, you can go up to these kiosks. They've integrated Groupon Now deals, geo-targeted deals inside of them for food, restaurants, entertainment, specials nearby. And they even have Groupon employees running around, physical people, on site, handing out $5 promotion codes that then drive you to go to the display to, complete a purchase. I don't know, man. This seems like really grasping at straws right now. It seems like, it goes against the whole Groupon model. I mean, we're gonna have people out, physical people out in the street handing out coupon codes to drive traffic to a kiosk. Like, yeah.
It seems so. Sorry. It seems so counterintuitive, right?
Yes, this one.
Well, so these I just showed a picture of it. These are physical locations. These are like you see it on the screen there. If you're watching on video, it is basically like a standalone kiosk that is supposed to drive local deals. It's kind of crazy that this is happening now. In a world of mobile, this is a 2-day event over Chicago, and this is stunning to me that this is even an option here. Seems desperate.
Yeah, I don't get it. And apparently, Pioneer Court is a high traffic spot.
Very.
People a day, apparently 60,000 people a day go through there. But you gotta think like 90% of the people in Chicago going through there are smartphone, people, or can do Groupon on the mobile device. I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
No.
Anyhow.
No, and it's the Groupon Now, so it's local deals, 2 days. It's so odd. But you know what? I can understand how that there's an appeal for this to drive traffic locally. This is basically as location based as it gets, right? You're in a perimeter.
Sure.
But it's so arbitrary that you make a decision to go, listen, I'm going to walk up there and decide what I'm going to do. I think most of the people down there have already made that decision. And it's so passive, and that's what I don't like about it. But Groupon desperate here to try to do something. Here's $5. Here's $5. Here's $5. And I guess everybody has their price. That's all I got.
Yeah.
So Groupon working with Elevate Digital. Do a search for Groupon and Elevate Digital. You'll come up with it. You'll see a nice little picture, as you can see here, of the that I had up on the screen of the kiosk, which is so old school. That it just doesn't seem worthwhile to do anymore, especially when we're all carrying these devices in North America, pretty much. Should we put that story to bed?
Yeah. We're done with that one. Moving on.
Finished.
One that I actually like. Here we go.
iOS Maps. Apple announced, obviously, iOS version 6. They have 2 betas out there for developers right now. And one of the key things, aside from deeper integration, now we had Twitter in iOS 5. We're going to have deep integration with Facebook in iOS 6. And in the middle of iOS Maps for iOS 6 is Yelp. This is huge for Yelp. Being on board, embedded.
For Yelp.
Yeah.
This is a lifeline for Yelp.
It really is.
I really like this deal for Yelp. I like it for Apple too in some respects. I think this is interesting. So Apple's come out. We talked about this a few weeks ago, and they've dropped Google Maps. They built their own map platform. And this latest announcement says that they built some deep integration into the maps with Yelp. So what this means is that as you're looking at an Apple map in iOS 6, you can see locations, you can see restaurants, bars, businesses on the map laid out on there. And by the way, this is 3D flyover, the whole thing. They've got all this capability built in there. And you can click on a property on the map, and you can check into it via Yelp's check-in capability. So similar to Foursquare in that context, or Facebook Places, but using Yelp's check-in platform. And not only can you check in, you can also obviously get all the recommendations and all the data that all that rich data about those places that Yelp has in their database. So I like this. This makes a lot of sense for Apple to go out and say, hey, we've got really strong mapping capability and strong data, recommendation data tied to that, right off the bat, so to speak. As we switch from Google to our own. So this is really cool. And the other aspect of this that I think is interesting is the Siri integration that they've built into this. So what you have is not just I see a location on the Apple map, I can get a Yelp recommendation on it, I can check into it. In addition to that, they've basically layered Siri, iPhone's voice activated piece Siri on top of that. So what does that mean? That means that you can get the recommendations coming from Yelp via voice as well.
And I think that a lot of this is key, right? You don't want this version of iMaps to be empty, right? So Google has a number of years, 6 years on Apple for collecting all that information and partnering and having businesses submit their data to Google Maps. So I think this makes sense for Yelp. And I don't know. I got a question. How many people check into Yelp? It's a weird thing.
I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. That is a good question.
And the other thing is that we talked about it earlier, just about Placecast and their wallet. But what does this mean for a company like Foursquare? We have Holger, who I interviewed before, and we've got another clip from him in this episode. But what does this mean for companies that are not part of the operating system? And when you've got Yelp, who is in the recommendation space and the discovery space, especially around restaurants, and they obviously expanding. And now they're doing check-ins built into a popular platform like iOS. What does that mean for Foursquare with their 20 million users, where they're not the default app? And will people still? What does that do to their growth? And how much of an unfair advantage does this give Apple and the operating system makers like Android, like Google? When they choose a platform, are they choosing a winner and are they choosing a loser at that point? So what does Foursquare do at this point when they're not part of the operating system?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think this is a serious threat to Foursquare at this point. I mean, if I'm Foursquare, that's how I'm looking at this. And I'm sure Holger will be on later talking about find and search and all of that. But we should get them back on a month from now, after or 2 months from now, once this all rolls out. Yeah. And kind of hear directly from the horse's mouth, so to speak. But it's I think this is really interesting. I think this is a serious threat to Foursquare. I think this is a great move for Apple in terms of filling the data gaps that they have. Dropping Google and making that switch. Yep. And this is obviously phenomenal for Yelp. So
the thing that I really like about this is it's a demonstration that you don't have to build it here, that you can partner properly to bring that data in. And my criticism, it's funny that I can criticize a company like Google, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but it's a very competitive landscape now everywhere. And the fact that Google is doing everything from backpacks with cameras on it to doing taking pictures of streets for Street View and all this kind of stuff around the mapping stuff is a very costly effort, right? They have to continuously keep it up to date, and businesses go out of business, people move, houses burn down, porches burn down. And now the question is, how do they keep maintaining this at a cost to them? And what does Apple do? It's very expensive to do that. And Apple just went out and partnered with Yelp, who's already doing that, who's already in charge of making sure that they have the right data around the right restaurants with the right reviews. And I think it's a very effective way. Now, a caveat here is that 2, 3, 4 years down the road, should Apple still be in a dominant position, and who knows with the cycle of technology, but
Sure.
in that time frame, my guess is that Apple is going to be building something that will make Yelp obsolete. Right? They'll bring that in house just like they did with the Maps piece. Right? So it's temporary, but maybe this is that piece that really pushes Yelp over the top. It's going to be cool to see.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah. So Yelp partnering with Apple on iOS Maps should be interesting. That'll be out in the fall. Everybody's speculating. We're on version 2 of the beta of iOS 6. All right, from a neat story to kind of a WTF. We were sitting at Untitled Talks this week. Big announcement, not even a big announcement, but spread like wildfire that Facebook's Friends Nearby, this little service launched, kind of didn't even launch. It just kind of appeared, and then as quickly as it appeared, it disappeared. Everybody started writing about it, and then they went back, and we were getting broken URLs, broken links. Facebook's Friends Nearby folly. What happened here?
Yeah, this one, I mean, obviously there's not a lot of data on this.
No.
The service appeared, it disappeared. Wired magazine interviewed these guys, and they basically said, "Oh, it was just some engineers testing testing a potential new service. It's not an official product release." This is one of those things where I think Facebook is they're public now, right? So they gotta be hyper vigilant on this kind of stuff. They can't, if in fact this is a bunch of guys testing something, they can't do it in this way, right? It's just too public. There's too many people watching. You're a public company. The stock price can just go up and down in a heartbeat based on stuff like this, and it's it's unfortunate. I think functionally, I think this is something that Facebook has to do. I mean, it's just a basic feature set of it's location 101 almost in terms of being able to know where your friends are. That social discovery aspect that everybody Banjo and Highlight and all these guys do, right? So you got it. Yeah, there you go, Banjo. Damien, you were awesome at Untethered Talks, man.
Totally.
Anyhow, I mean, you just gotta have this capability. So I don't know. I mean, it just seems silly that they'd put it out there and pull it back, like that, as opposed to just letting the thing be out there if you're gonna put it out there, and having it live for a bit and getting some actual real reaction.
It seems like a sophomore rookie mistake here, and certainly not one of a public company where you can't test like this in a live environment around Facebook,
No.
especially with what's going on with all of the issues around privacy that are coming up, and it's going to get much worse before it gets much better. And you yourself said, Asif, at Untethered Talks in your stellar presentation, that look, privacy is doesn't exist anymore. We just haven't caught up to that fact at this point. And
right.
I wonder though that if this is the wrong use of Facebook, I can understand. I guess the idea here is that for Friends Nearby was that it's built on an engine that allows you that was meant for events, and I think it's more tailored to something like LinkedIn, where it's kind of a periphery of your network. Who's there? Let's connect with via business. I still hold my Facebook environment as friends. Friends, yeah, we have had to have had a relationship in order for me to be a friend of yours. I get a lot of requests from people that I don't know, and I don't answer to those. Go and connect with me on LinkedIn, or even on Twitter, or in person. So this is kind of a weird use of this, is that, I'm interested in Friends Nearby. I'm interested in companies like Banjo helping me find out who I know that's nearby so that I don't miss that opportunity to connect with them. But Friends Nearby, it's an inevitability, but I don't know that we're ready for it, and I don't think that this is the right approach for Facebook to take, which is basically the hacker mentality of trying it out and then seeing what happens. Not with a public company, not with so much scrutiny on it, not with such concern over its ability to generate revenue in the mobile space. So it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll leave that one. And Rob, if you don't mind, before we go to the last story there, I just remembered something that I got earlier this week, and I wanted to make a quick mention of it. I don't know. We've talked on the show in the past about Forecast, and I was a big fan and supporter of Forecast and used that. And I got a note this week. I don't know if you got the note as well, Rob. But they basically sent a note out to all the user base that said that they're shutting it down.
What?
Yeah, and I'll just read it here. Just pull up the email. The time has come for Forecast to shut its doors. Starting on July 1st today, our mobile apps and website will not work. Although we're passionate about building great products that help people connect in the real world, we have run out of resources to keep the Forecast project afloat. We sincerely appreciate you taking the time to try our app. We hope that it brought you some value. If you have any questions or comments or just want to keep in touch, don't hesitate to email us. And that's from Renee Pinnell and the Forecast team. So, I think it's a sad note. I think the sort of the potential of Forecast, that idea of location intention, and check-ins into where you're going to be in the future, has a lot of merit. And I'm sure someone's going to pick this capability up as a functional piece and build it into one of the other product sets. But a sad day. I love Renee, love the Forecast product. These guys, we're onto something really cool. So anyhow, just want to throw that in there.
Do you think that?
Sad to see.
Do you think that it had something to do with obviously a revenue model, something like this? Obviously, people weren't paying for this, or there wasn't anything behind it. You think it's too early? That's my sense.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's too. I mean, certainly there was no revenue model, But for me, the functionality around Forecast is really just it's solid in its thinking, but it's really just a feature in all the other sort of check-in platforms out there, right? And so I think Foursquare, I think Apple with the Yelp piece, I think all this stuff could easily build the idea, the thinking behind checking into where you're going to be in the future, which is what Forecast did. This sort of idea of forecasting your intention around location, into any of these apps. So I don't know if there was any patents or anything around that, or anything along those lines, but. Anyhow, it's sad to see it go. Hope somebody picks it up and bakes it into their service offering.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Sorry.
Well, it's good to know that. I mean, this is relevant, pertinent news, and there's opportunity in that space, and done properly, and done at the right time frame. It's too bad. Yeah, big fans of Forecast. All right, should we finish it off now? Fifth story, Scotiabank. Here we go. This is a perfect example of, the potential, I think, of something like NFC embedded in posters. This is printable NFC chips and posters, working in conjunction with a phone that is NFC capable, and a brand like Scotiabank and Astral Media, which is everywhere, right? When you look at the ads in bus shelters. Let's talk about this. This is it's neat, but it's a good test.
Yeah, so it's Canada Day. I decided to throw in a good Canadian story here. We got Astral Media, one of the biggest media companies, out-of-home media companies in Canada. Scotiabank, one of the big five banks up here, basically taking transit bus shelter posters, putting NFC chips in them, and connecting that to something called the Scotiabank Scene program, which is it's a loyalty program connected to Cineplex Cineplex Media and Entertainment, which is the largest movie theater company in Canada, if you're not from Canada. And so basically what's happening is you can tap these NFC-enabled posters with your NFC-enabled phone, and you can enter a mobile-optimized Facebook contest to win free movie passes by doing this. You can sign up for a Scotiabank bank account. You can get bonus loyalty points on your Scene card. I mean, so there's a bunch of things that they're doing here, all enabled through a tap of an NFC poster, that Astral's managing, obviously, as an out-of-home media company. And all of these are down in the sort of entertainment district around movie theaters. So they're sort of in proximity to where you might actually use, or be able to redeem what you're collecting here.
Yeah, it's an early example of some of the power of NFC as a way not really to enable commerce, but to enable reward, right? Or to enable location. Yeah. So for Scotiabank, it tells you where you can, where the nearest Scotiabank is, that kind of stuff, which is all pedestrian stuff. But I like the idea that you're getting rewarded. I never really understood this whole. I've seen ads on television here in Canada where it's you get free movies from Scotiabank, and I think that it's a disconnect for me there. But as long as they're enhancing that relationship with Cineplex Odeon, this is a perfect way to do that, especially if it drives traffic and awareness to those theaters. This is cool. We're going to see much more of this. We're going to be tapping posters everywhere, especially if the rumors hold true. I think it was I don't know. It's either into mobile or Boy Genius that said that NFC is for sure going to be baked into the new iPhone this coming fall. So I think that we're going to see much more of this, and it's good that Scotiabank. I love when Canadian companies are at the forefront of testing this technology. Go Canada. Go.
Yeah, no, it's great, and apparently this is reading further on in the release around this. This is just part of a bigger media play for the summer. So they're actually going to be running ads on Xbox platform, on connected TV platforms. It's not just NFC. They're doing this on a number of platforms to promote the program. So it's kind of cool.
Very cool. Well, and we're gonna obviously this is that we've talked about that the ability to jump from the terrestrial, real life, into the digital world, and making sure that there's a strong connect, and then being able to measure the success of these things, and that's what this is, the promise, and hopefully what we see is some innovative use of this kind of technology, starting with Scotiabank. Go Canada. Those are the 5 stories, and we finish. It's great because it's Canada Day. We finish on the Canadian story. We got Placecast, we've got Groupon and Elevate Digital. We talked about iOS and Maps and Yelp and what that means to a lot of other companies. We talked about Facebook, Friends and Nearby, Fiasco, Folly, whatever you want to call it, and Scotiabank working with Astral Media for NFC on bus shelter posters. Great stories. Great stories.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of a great story, it all plays well into our master plan to have Holger come back, and there's so many great clips. The interview did not get up last week because of Untethered Talks. It will be up this week, Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. We just obviously got jammed, so we couldn't put up a lot of content when you're running a lean shop like this and then trying to do a conference. But in this clip, Holger's talking about the difference. I asked him about find versus search and the evolution of search from a desktop onto a mobile device, and how that changes the game when it comes to discovery, location-based discovery. And that's where Foursquare is clearly headed towards. That's where Yelp is. So that's why we're very interested with this integration, this iOS 6 integration with Yelp with iOS Maps. So here's Holger talking about the difference between search, his interpretation of the difference between search and find, and what that means to Foursquare. We'll be back on the flip. But that shift from traditional search to what I would consider mobile find, right? So it really fits in with what you're doing around Radar, and it really fits around your Explorer. Is that the trend that you're trying to hit onto? Is it because you're taking search in a different direction ultimately?
Yeah. I don't know if it's something that we are necessarily kind of steering. I think there's generally a trend, among internet users. First of all, there's clearly a trend from the PC and Mac to the mobile phone, right? And we're at the very forefront of this. I think I mentioned this in February. Unlike some of the other major social networks out there, and we're much smaller, by the way, but unlike companies like Facebook and Twitter, we are 100% mobile. Right, so all our 20 million users are very likely on a smartphone, and or they're using it from a mobile web or so. But they all have to have access to mobile, and that's how it's really the only way you can use Foursquare. So that's definitely the first trend that we're seeing. And so, in reality, we're kind of, it was just fantastic timing. Probably by coincidence that the company was started when we did. and we were able to leverage all this technology that was coming, with these, with the emergence of smartphones. That's the first trend. The other trend that I think we can leverage here is the fact that as users become more sophisticated, they learn that different websites and different apps can be used for different things, right? There used to be the model back in the late 90s where companies like Yahoo or AOL they were your one-stop shop for everything. This was like when the internet usage was still fairly low, and these early adopters kind of still had to find their way around, and there was also pre-search and so forth. So these portals were controlling basically everything, and you could get your weather from there, you could get your news from there, and you could do your searches from there. I think today, internet users and mobile users specifically are much more intelligent and versatile, and they know that there are different things for different purposes. And we want to be that place where you should go if you want to find out where to go next. We are here to kind of help you figure out the world around you. That's kind of our mantra. And I don't think it's a world anymore where you have to go to one of the major search players and get it's your one-stop shop for all the information. From my perspective, we can actually provide better information. If you go to one of the major search engines today, and we would type in, we would sit in the same room with like 5 or 6 people, we would all get the same results, right? But whereas if you go and do that on Explore, we all very likely, based on our own preferences and based on the preferences of our Foursquare network, we would get very different results. And that's exactly the kind of personalization that I think people are expecting. And in a way, we're leveraging the intelligence of the users that they kind of know where to go for certain options and for certain purposes.
What do you think? Do you think that I'm very interested in this? This is a battle brewing. Foursquare's been around for a number of years, 20 million users. I've talked to a lot of people that think that this is a company that's in decline right now, that the growth has stalled, that the check-in is disappearing, and we all know that, but that they waited a little bit too long to change their business model. Or do you think that this is just the beginning for them, that this discovery piece, they've got 2 billion pieces of data, 40 million locations worldwide. This isn't just a North American phenomenon. It's not limited to one platform like iOS. It's everywhere. And I'm interested in your feedback on that and what Holger has to say. Do you think that this is it? Or do you think that there's an opportunity for them to really carve out a great niche, start making some money when they so choose? Reach out, untether@gmail.com or asif@thelbma.com. And let us know your thoughts. Hey, and if you really want to do something sophisticated, you want to be on the show, send us a video clip. You can email it to me. Throw it up on YouTube. Email it to me at untether@gmail.com. If you have a video response to this, I'll put it right here in this show, right now. How cool is that? If you want to be on TV.
There you go.
All right. So we thank Holger. The interview will be up probably by the time you're watching this on Tuesday, part 1, and part 2 will be up on Wednesday. So thanks for Holger for doing this. All right, M&A, funding activity, Asif, lots of it going on, but come on, buddy, we're in the wrong game.
Yeah.
We are in the wrong game.
Yeah.
We're obviously talking about Microsoft acquiring Yammer. Now, this was a while ago. This is, 10 days ago or so, but the details are emerging right now. This was a $1.2 billion acquisition. Cashola.
Yeah, this is ridiculous valuations. This is, on the level of Instagram, and I think it's worse than Instagram, in fact, because the user base, I don't even know what to say about this. I'm just up in arms when I look at this, and I look at just, look at a company like this, $1.2 billion for Yammer, and look at where RIM is right now. And the valuation of that company, and yet all the assets that it doesn't make sense. This whole market doesn't make sense at the moment.
You can't. But it's funny because when you compare them, like their revenue, Yammer's revenue, $23 million.
Yeah, $23
million. So if you did the multiple on $23 million for basically an internal Twitter and file sharing application, which is what I thought their project management tool already did. But if you think about $23 $23 million in revenue and a $1.2 billion valuation for Microsoft. Where's the strategic buy? For every $23 million in revenue, is RIM worth $1.2 billion? Because then all of a sudden, that's a valuable company. It's a good point.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get these valuations. But anyhow, so Yammer, enterprise software here, we're talking about enterprise social networking platform. Apparently they're going to be joining the Microsoft Office division, still reporting into David Sachs, who's their CEO, the Yammer CEO. These guys, they just attract cash. Apparently, I mean, they raised $85 million in February at a $600 million valuation. So from February to now, they've gone from $600 million to 1.2. Please.
It's hard.
Please, somebody please explain to me how these valuations are being pulled off, because they just make absolutely no sense. Anyhow,
I used Yammer right when it came out. I used Yammer at Rove. It was our internal kind of Twitter feed, right, which is a discussion thing, and it didn't have document sharing, and really, with I think, this fits a niche. But it's not a great niche, and we found that with Yammer, it was just another application that we had to keep open. But if we did a private group on Twitter, we felt very, very comfortable to be able to exchange content. Now the difference is that with Yammer, you can buy an enterprise server that keeps all that data local, so that with Twitter, it's up in the cloud, it's up on Twitter's server, and at some point they might actually, if you ever get subpoenaed, they'll open that up, right? So
I heard you can buy an enterprise server from BlackBerry too.
Yeah, exactly. all I know is that this kind of valuation, first of all, good on them for taking it. They have to do this kind of stuff, and Microsoft is now, they're protecting on all fronts right now against this social thing. But this just seems ludicrous, and
there's a problem with their licensing model. I mean, like, how can you do just $23 million in revenue? According to the stuff I'm reading, they got 200,000 customers. Yeah. They got 85% of the Fortune 500 uses Yammer. Yeah, well, and you're making $23 million.
I don't know what that means, but I mean, their pricing is not—it's not outrageous. I'm just pulling it up on the screen here. It's like,
well, that's what I mean. Like, it's
anywhere from $79 per group per month, or $5. Like, this is like, yeah, you know what? The only way I can think about this is that if Microsoft looks at this and says, look, we're missing this somewhere. If we can integrate this right into Word, or into their Office, into their online version of Office, into their everything, into Outlook, or whatever it might be, where it's instant communication back and forth. So it's the equivalent to iOS Chat or iMessenger, where it's everywhere across all platforms, including their mobile platform, desktop, whatever it is, cloud. And then you can start to see that maybe there's a little bit of value add. But this is not an incremental revenue run for Microsoft. This is a feature of their bigger product. So they're absorbing that $1.2 billion buy, and then they're not looking to make revenue off of it. They're just looking to enhance a service. That's an expensive buy.
That's an expensive buy. Anyhow, all right, moving on.
$1.2 billion. And any of the founders of Yammer who want to start investing, I'm hoping that they start to give some of that back into the community, wherever they may be. All right. Second story, Mobile Posse closes a small round. Who are these guys?
Yeah, I mean, so this is a news aggregated mobile ad network play. Raised $5 million. This is a third round for them. It's led by Harvard Venture Partners and SoftBank Capital, and there's a few others in there. So in total, they've raised almost $24 million, over the 3 rounds. So they got some capital in there. They got some pretty big customers. These guys are, they've done stuff with 7-Eleven, Allstate, ESPN, Ford, Walmart. Walmart. Big guys are using this to advertise. They also do a white label version of this, so kind of like Placecast in some respects, but a mobile ad network play, not an SMS geofencing play. So they've enabled Metro PCS, Cricket Communications, with a white label, so they go after the carriers as well. Hey. Some more fuel in the tank. They've done a great job, it seems, of building a very solid customer base. I was looking at somebody was comparing these guys to Foursquare. Actually, apparently they've got 15 million users, on the mobile platform network. Compared to Foursquare's 21 million. So
I mean, it's a little bit different because, I mean, they're pulling up news, right? It's basically like a news aggregator, weather and localized stuff. And it's kind of like, I would equate this more closely to Flipboard, wouldn't you? Like, or Zeit or Pulse or something like that, where...
Yeah, more like Pulse. I would say this is more like Pulse, yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Good for them. When you can tailor that kind of advertising message to somebody specific, as long as it's done in a very tasteful way, unlike their website. No offense, but it doesn't instill confidence. But their product is something called Tiles. Yeah, Moby Tiles. I just pulled it up there, and it's basically a news aggregator like Pulse. And then they're monetizing it through advertisement.
Yeah.
So they raised $5 million.
There you go. Mobile Posse.
Mobile Posse. Tough word. Tough name. No offense. Our last story around this, a German company that is equivalent or a Square equivalent or a Square-like, a Square competitor in German called Payleven. We're going to start to see these everywhere. I think that this is a commodity. I think this business is limited in its reach and its scope. I love Square, but I think that it has a shelf life, and that's why they're getting into a whole bunch of other things. I just saw my first commercial for Square for merchants on television last night, and on a U.S. channel, obviously, because it's not available up here in Canada. But this is a company that's getting into the Square space. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So they've there was no formal number in terms of how much they raised, other than to say that it was double-digit millions of euros. So at least 10 million euros plus. So significant capital going into this. We've talked about iZettle before on the show, which is a Swedish player that's in this payment space, similar to Square as well. I think the interesting thing here is when you look at the funding. So this is coming from a group called Rocket Internet. Is the incubator investor. And in particular, the guys behind Rocket Internet is the Samweer brothers, and I don't know these guys well, but from what I've read, their whole business model is kind of take U.S. companies like Groupon and Square and clone them for Europe, and just create these copies.
I love it.
So that's their model. That's what they do. So it's kind of interesting. So. Yeah.
Well, I use these guys, which is paid. Yeah, from Moneris. It's the equivalent up here in Canada. And I think that, when we start to get into this, there's a small business here. I don't believe this is a long-term business about credit card transactions taking 3% or 2.9%. It's competitive. It's basically a race to zero when it comes to transaction costs. But I think that it does enable the masses, and that's what's cool about this. It's what's cool about Payleven. And I love the concept about taking things that are working in the U.S. Square is clearly focused on United States only, and we want it up in Canada, which is why we've got Paid and a couple of others, and they're not coming up to Canada because the market is so big in the States that I love the fact that enterprising entrepreneurs are building a service.
Yeah, and these.
Like this.
As you said, these things are cropping up everywhere. Yeah. These kinds of payment dongles, for lack of a better term, that you plug into a smartphone, and process a credit card or a chip card or whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, you know what? This was what we used at Untethered Talk. So when we had registered guests coming up who hadn't registered already, we just pulled out an iPhone, did a swipe with Paid, and it's a seamless transaction. I love it. It's for people who don't like to pay with PayPal. And this really works very, very well. It only works with MasterCard and Visa, we found out, not American Express. But except for Payleven actually does work with American Express. So I like these services. I just think that there's a limited shelf life of this. We're just going to get inundated with it. And when everybody can start taking credit cards, it's the next that we're looking at. And that's going to be right around the corner. Yep. So Payleven from Germany raises multiple 10 million euros, somewhere 10 million to 100 million. Is that
yeah, somewhere in there.
I think if they raised 100, they would have told us.
Double-digit millions.
Yeah.
So.
All right, that's it. So Microsoft going crazy, spending a lot of money. They on Yammer, Mobile Posse gets $5 million. I got to be very careful with that word. German Payleven raises, German company called Payleven raises multiple 10 million of euros, and that is what's going on. 1 acquisition, 2 fundings. And if you can hear that, I don't know if you can, but they're testing, they're doing flybys right now with the snowbirds for the national capital. At noon, we have the snowbirds, which is the Canadian F-18s. Stunt F-18s that fly over Parliament buildings, and there's like they've been testing over my house for forever now. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
They probably reflected something down to your solar light and kind of caused that to explode. Yeah. Anyhow.
It's the snowbirds that did it. That burnt my porch down this morning. Oh.
Yeah.
All right, so last but not least, our resource of the week. Now, this is interesting. I think it's somewhat controversial, where they're talking about this is a report done by Deloitte. Why don't you explain it? That is talking about retail, mobile retail, enabling in-store commerce.
Yeah, so it's from Deloitte, and the piece is titled "Smartphones Are Helping, Not Hurting Retail Sales." So relatively new study. I think it's only been out for a few weeks now, and basically what they're saying is that the mobile influence factor is what they're calling it on retail purchases will increase to 689 billion by 2016, up from 159 billion, currently. So that's going to 19% of total sales. They're saying is being driven by mobile.
How do they know 5%.
That? Who knows?
How do they judge this?
I don't know where they make up this stuff, but they're saying it's going to go from 5% today to basically 20% by 2016. Via mobile, in-store sales via mobile.
So you know what I it's a great trajectory. I'm reading this wonderful book, and of course now I don't have it on me because in the world of digital, I don't actually read books. I listen to them on Audible.com. And if you're interested in, it's called Flash Foresight. Just put it up on my screen there, Flash Foresight. And there's a great example in it they talk about if you took the trajectory of Elvis impersonators back when Elvis Presley died in 1977, the number of Elvis impersonators that were at the accelerated rate they were actually coming out into the market, then 1 in 3 North Americans would be an Elvis impersonator by now. Obviously, that didn't happen, right? So it's a blip in time. And I think that if the world continues in the retail space as it is right now, in this little context that we're in right now, maybe mobile enables it. But the thing is that retail is going through such an upheaval, a transition, that retail today isn't going to look like this in a year from now or 2 years from now. It is going to be totally different experience, right? There's unlimited inventory. Retail, Doug Stevens talked about this at Untethered Talks. Where he talked about, the destination is you. It is no longer about going into a store. It's about enabling a customer to buy wherever they are. So how does that factor into this? If it taken in context to what we know today and what we're doing today, sure, right? Influence is up the wazoo, but it's not going to look the same.
But what is a store? Yeah. Is the question, right? What is a store? Right, and I think that's to Doug's point, to what you're saying. I don't know that you can look at this data and predict it that way. I think you have to. You don't know where people are going to buy. You don't know where a store is going to be. It's whether augmented reality in the air, physical bricks and mortar,
pop-up stores,
online. Yep. So. Anyhow,
it's an odd thing, and I think that what this does is it fills the retailers with a sense of calmness, where what you should be looking at are ways to service your customer wherever they may be and hold on to your existing customers. Don't worry about trying to convert them in store. Worry about getting them into store or getting them to buy product. Right? The focus on in store. It's important, but that store changes. It's going to change. I bet you people who walk into an Apple store have a higher percentage or a higher propensity to buy than when you walk into a Sears, right? Sure. And I think that that's just something because it's a destination. You know why you're going there. And one of the stats that was in here that said that, I don't know what the sample rate of this, the sample of this was, but they're talking about how this will, 37% of the people in there carrying smartphones, and I think that's part of the accelerant that they're not taking into consideration when most people have the ability to do this. But it's a weird kind of. Don't be complacent, retailers. That's what I'm saying. Don't be complacent. by this report. Don't sit there and pat yourself on the back and say, hey, we're fine. We're going to be growing. Because this is a blip in time. A year from now, retail won't look like it does today.
Yeah. There you go.
That's it. Episode number 84. Man, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. No fires during the episode. Maybe just a little bit of a few angry people. Who knows? But
yeah.
Listen, we want to hear back from you. We've had some great feedback around our episodes. We love hearing feedback from you guys. Reach out at untethered@gmail.com or asif@thelbma.com. Follow up Asif on Twitter at AsifRCon or the LBMA. You can follow me at Rob Woodbridge or Untether, and that's a shared account. So it's myself and Douglas Soltis who are contributing to that account. But reach out any way, shape, or form. We'd love to hear from you guys. And how are we doing? We have an inferiority complex, don't we, Asif? We want to know. When we don't hear, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah, no, we want feedback. Bring it all on, good and bad.
Yeah, and I got to remind you that you can subscribe to us on iTunes or just via an RSS feed. But go to iTunes and look up This Week in Location-Based Marketing. We are right there. We'd appreciate it. There's an audio and a video stream, and get it right onto your device right away as soon as it becomes available. And the other thing is that we would love to start showcasing some great companies on this. So we've got our interview section, we've got our M&A and our funding section. But if you really want to reach our audience, which is growing leaps and bounds every week, every time we push out an episode, we'd love to have you guys on, some of you guys on as sponsors. We don't take everyone. It's got to be a good fit for our audience, and we're going to be starting up with a new sponsor next week. But we welcome your if you're interested in sponsoring. We'd reach out at untether@gmail.com or Asif@thelbma. How's that for? That's kind of begging without begging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Passive begging.
All right.
That's it. So we will see you next week for episode number 85. No excitement, no fire, no Canada Day. Asif, you're going to be in the country?
I'm still in the country.
3 weeks.
Well, no, I'm not actually. I'm sorry. I thought I was. I'm gone just for a quick one. I'm off to Dallas for Tuesday and Wednesday.
All right, man. Good Lord. So that's it. So you're in the country for 5 days of the week this week, which is a miracle.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time for episode number 85 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Thank you so much for watching this one. See you, Asif. Safe travels this week.
Cheers. Yeah, thanks.